Hello and welcome to Narayana IAS. My name is Abhijit, and as a part of daily news analysis, we will be discussing 5 most important articles from The Hindu and Indian Express. So let's have a quick view over the topics that we are going to discuss today. First article is from page number 7 of The Hindu Delhi edition. Make the poor richer without making the rich poorer. This article is discussing about a dichotomy between two philosophical stands. One is zero-sum approach and another is variable-sum approach with respect to distribution of resources in the developing nations such as India. Second article is from page number 9, Unveiling the Wheel, Expenditure Disparities in India's Electoral System. This article is discussing a very important factor to affect voters' behavior in India, that is money power. And it is quoting CSTS Lokniti study to show its spatial variation and variation across political parties. It raises two basic questions. One is ethical and another is legal. Next article is from page number 13, The Indian Express. What is artificial general intelligence and why are people worried about it? We will be looking at a new term, that is artificial general intelligence, and various apprehensions regarding the AGI. Next article is from page number 1, The Indian Express. IT clause to ensure MSMEs are paid on time creates hurdle in previous budget 23-24. Government brought a tax change to ensure timely payment for MSME sector, but currently it is not showing intended results, rather causing some of the MSMEs to bring them into informal sector. Along with this provision, we will be discussing about importance and other issues that MSMEs are facing today. Last article is from page number 1, The Hindu, Kerala obstructing Mullaperiyar dam work, Tamil Nadu to Supreme Court, in which we will be discussing about Mullaperiyar dam and the constitutional and other legal provisions to resolve conflicts between the states. And after all these discussions, we will be practicing some prelims and mains related questions. So let's start our session. So the first article for today's discussion is make the poor richer without making the rich poorer. Poverty anywhere is a threat to prosperity everywhere. And to eliminate this threat, we have to alleviate the poverty. And the basic reason behind this poverty is the skewed distribution of the resource. So if we want to alleviate poverty, if we want to establish certain mechanism or tool to understand poverty and to alleviate poverty, we have to understand the resource distribution within a society. To understand this, there are two philosophical approaches. One is zero-sum approach and another is variable-sum approach. What are these approaches? There are three basic resources in the society. One is wealth, second is power, and third is prestige. This zero-sum approach says that these resources within a society are fixed. So for example, if we talk about wealth, and within a society, if X amount of wealth is present, this X amount is fixed. And if a person is accumulating or increasing its wealth, that will be definitely at the expense of others. What about variable sum? Variable sum approach says that this X amount is not limited, it's not fixed. And if at all a person is increasing or generating the wealth, it may be helpful in generating wealth for the whole society, and other people will also be benefited from this generation of wealth. Okay. There's another approach to understand this wealth distribution in the society that is known as Lorentz curve. This y-axis represents the percentage share of wealth, and this x-axis represents the population from poorer to richer, right? And it starts with envisaging a perfect equality in a society. In that case, there is a diagonal line, straight line, that makes 45 degree from the x-axis and y-axis, right? And it says that for every share of population, there will be the equal distribution of wealth. So for example, 5% people population will be holding 5% of the wealth. 10% people will be holding 10% of the wealth, right? But this is not truth in the real sense or the practical sense, right? In practical society, this Lorentz curves moves like this, right? And this part becomes the inequality part, also known as Gini coefficient, okay? It says that this inequality part is appropriated by the richer people. Richer people having more share than the poorer people, okay? As far as zero-sum approach is concerned, this zero-sum approach says that if people who are at this position or who are richer, if they are increasing their wealth, it will definitely move this curve into this direction, and this inequality part will be increased, and this increased inequality part will be appropriated by the richer people at the expense of the poorer people. But variable sum approach says that what about we increase the overall share of the wealth, or we increase the overall wealth in a society. It will not only affect or improve the position or situation of the richer people, but also be helpful for the poor people to increase their wealth, right? Okay. There's another concept associated with this wealth distribution or resource distribution, that is distributive justice. What is distributive justice? We will be discussing in a couple of minutes, but this distributive justice is emerged from the zero-sum approach, and which says that if we want to bring equality in a society, if we want to alleviate poverty in a society, we have to take the wealth or the resources from the richer people and we have to distribute it to the poor people, right? Why this article is important for us? Because this article is discussing about the distributive justice, and which emerged from the zero-sum approach as far as wealth distribution is concerned. And this article is discussing certain flaws in understanding this distributive justice, and the policymaker, it urges policymaker to move towards a fine balance between zero-sum approach and variable-sum approach. If we want to map this article, we can map under GS paper 1, poverty and developmental issues, GS paper 2, government policies and interventions for development in various sectors. Let's understand from the eyes of previous year question. 2019 UPSC asked about not just about the inclusive growth, but also how it is intended to meet the objective of inclusiveness and the sustainability together, right? So such type of linkages between different topics you can expect in future in UPSC mains exam. What is the context? Context is Indian National Congress. It published its manifesto and it urged for wealth tax, which is a part of distributive justice, and it started a discussion, deliberation, debate over the distributive justice in a society, right? So, what is the discourse on inequality or distribution? Firstly, let's understand the inequality or the extent of inequality. That is the requirement for this whole debate. So, according to World Inequality Report 2022, India ranks among the most unequal countries globally, with the top 10% and top 1% holding 57% and 22% of the national income. And that is also true for the wealth. For example, the richest 1% owns 53% of the country's wealth and leaving the poor half with a mere 4.1% wealth. Okay. As far as poor population or poor people is concerned, meanwhile, the share of the bottom 50% has decreased to 13% as far as national income or share in national income is concerned, right? And this is not just true for India, but also true for the whole globe, right? This economic disparity has been increasing not only in India but globally over the past 2 decades, suggesting that it is a complex and deep-rooted issue. For example, in 2022, world's richest 1% owned 46%, almost 46% of the world's wealth, right? And you can see nationwide distribution of wealth here in this chart as well, right? What about the ideological approaches to inequality, or how we can tackle this inequality, or how we can eliminate the problem of poverty, how we can alleviate the poverty in the society? There are 2 approaches that we have discussed. First is zero-sum approach, also known as Pareto optimum, which believes that there is a fixed economic pie and which advocates for this redistribution of economic pie. This thing is very good for developed nation. How? The developed nation are growing themselves in a very slow pace, right? And if at all we are distributing this wealth from richer people to poorer people, it will not going to hamper their economic growth because it's still in a very slow pace. But developed countries are moving at a faster rate, right? And if we are distributing, or we are extracting money, or we are taking out money from the richer people and giving it to the poor people, it will disincentivize these upper strata, and this economy will not move in a faster pace, rather it will move to the lower pace, right? And that is not going to benefit at all to any section of the society, right? So this zero-sum approach is good for developed nation that can only grow slowly and are forced to adopt a Pareto path to reducing inequality. But developing nations can grow much faster rate. Others believe the second opinion, or the second approach, that is variable sum approach, believes in growing economic pie, suggesting that it is possible to improve everyone's conditions simultaneously. So we have to focus on the income generation or wealth generation rather than income distribution. And that is the second option or second opinion. This article is suggesting that we need to take care of, we need to take a balance of these 2 approaches, right? Okay, so first let's understand the distributive justice, and then we'll see what are the underlying factors which is causing inequality in the society, and then we'll see how we can take a middle path of all these 2. We can take middle path of these 2 approaches, right? So what is distributive justice? It involves a fair allocation of goods and resources in society. It offers moral guidelines for political system, and that we can see in our constitution as well. For example, in our constitution, there are 2 provisions, Article 39B and 39C, which is based on this distributive justice, which is preventing the concentration of wealth and which is ensuring the equitable distribution of the resources that influence how societal benefits and burdens are distributed, right? The fundamental principle behind this distributive justice is that similar effort should result in similar outcomes, and no individual should disproportionately accumulate the resources. Okay, wealth tax that recently Indian National Congress has propagated or supported, right, is a part of this distributive justice. And this article, not just this article, many people are arguing against this wealth tax. This wealth tax approach aims to redistribute wealth from the super rich to the poor, and that is the basic concept behind this wealth tax or inheritance tax, and is largely based on zero-sum thinking. This both wealth tax and inheritance tax, that is a part of distributive justice, are part of or based on zero-sum approach or zero-sum thinking. It questions the fairness in how wealth is acquired and argues against taxing wealth simply because it might be perceived as ill-gotten, right? There is also ethical concern with respect to inheritance tax. For example, if a person is accumulating wealth and is going to give these many wealth to their offspring, right? And this is giving these offspring advantageous position as compared to other people in the society, right? So it is not creating, rather it is creating hurdle for creation of, or in the creation of, level playing field within a society, right? The ethical appeal of the inheritance tax aims to level the playing field between those born into wealth and those who are not. However, our primary focus is to create wealth and distribute wealth, and not going into the or resolving any ethical dilemma at this point. When we become developed country, then we have to resolve such type of dilemma. That is the aspect given by the article. So there is an importance of economic growth. It emphasizes the need for economic growth to increase the overall economic pie, suggesting that policies making the richer poor could deter investment and lead to capital flight. So we have to make a balance between zero sum approach and variable sum approach, and we have to see certain underlying factor which are creating the inequality. So what are those underlying problems that are creating the inequality in society? First is the jobless growth. How India is experiencing jobless growth? Why? Because we adopted Western paradigm of development. Our economic models are based on Western paradigm of development, which is giving more importance to capital in comparison to labor, right? So we have to focus on this anomaly rather than focusing on the distribution of the resources, right? So we have to rebalance between capital and labor. We have to we have to change the economic model of India so that we should ensure job growth, or growth which ensures jobs or employment in the society. The key to reducing economic disparity is to address imbalance between capital and labor through policies that incentivize labor market participation. Moving forward, more underlying factors which are causing inequality in the society. One of them is taxation imbalance. How? There is an imbalance in the India's taxation system, where the poorer segments of the society bear a disproportionately higher tax burden compared to the wealthy corporates. For example, out of every 100 rupees that India collects in taxes, 64 rupees comes from the poor and middle class through indirect taxes, while only 36 rupees comes from the rich corporates. A disproportionate burden falls on the lower income brackets, with approximately 64% of the total goods and services tax collected from the bottom 50% compared to only 4% from the top 10%. And this tax imbalance is also responsible for inequality or wealth inequality in India. Moving forward, let's see another aspect or another underlying factor behind this inequality. One is healthcare accessibility. For example, many ordinary Indians struggle to access necessary healthcare, with 63 million pushed into poverty annually due to healthcare cost. Second is food security and nutrition. Around 74% of India's population cannot afford healthy diet, and 39% lack nutrient adequate nutrition. India's 2023 Global Hunger Index scored 28.7, signaling a serious issue as per GHI severity of hunger scale. Notably, India's child wasting rate at 18.7% is the highest recorded in the report. Next is gender inequality. India ranks 127 out of 146 countries in the Global Gender Gap Report 2023. The country faces the persistent challenge of missing women from the workforce, constituting a complex and ongoing issue. So these are some of the underlying factors which are causing inequality in the society. So what is the solution? The article is saying that firstly, we have to ensure social security net, right? Social security net for the poor should be funded by a combination of economic growth, tax revenue, and efficient welfare delivery. So we have to see the underlying factors. We have to resolve them, and variable sum approach For example, we have to focus on economic growth and employment growth as well. Secondly, pragmatic approach to inequality to reduce the rich-poor gap by maximizing economic growth, minimizing the unemployment, reducing tax burden on the common people, and ensuring social safety net. And it is also against the punitive taxation that approaches aimed at redistributing wealth from rich to poor, arguing that such measures are neither effective nor conducive to reduce economic inequality. Next article is Unveiling the Wheel, Expenditure Disparities in India's Electoral System. Money power is one of the most influential power which is affecting or changing the voters' behavior. And this article is citing CSDS Lokniti study, and it is raising concerns over the expenditure pattern by the various political parties. So this article is discussing about the expenditure disparities in India's electoral system and representation of People's Act. If we can map under GS paper 2 important aspects of governance, transparency and accountability, including representation of People's Act. Previously, UPSC has asked questions related to the election system. For example, in 2017, UPSC asked question about Election Commission of India has proposed electoral reforms in 2016, and they were asking about these reforms. So you can expect such type of question in future as well. What is the context? This article delves into the issue of electoral expenditure in India, highlighting the absence of caps on political party spending and third-party involvement. Further, it discusses the impact of these disparity on the electoral landscape, emphasizing the dominance of deep-pocketed parties and the disadvantages faced by the smaller players. So, what is electoral funding? It encompasses the funds received and spent by political parties during elections. The regulations governing these financial aspects are referred to the electoral funding laws, which can be categorized into three major groups. First is regulation on the amount of contribution allowed to political parties and candidates, as well as their expenditure limit. Second is requirement for disclosure and transparency. And third is the provisions of state funding of elections. The electoral funding in India is broadly governed by the provisions of Representation of People's Act 1951 and the Conduct of Election Rules 1961, Companies Act 2013 and the Income Tax Act 1961. So this can be a potential prelims question. Moving forward, there is an ADR report on election funding as well. For the financial year 2020-2021, 8 national political parties have declared that 426 crore income they earned or created from the unknown sources. 27 regional parties received almost 263 crore income from unknown sources. Moving forward, 31% income of national parties and almost 50% of the regional parties have come from unknown sources. The report has treated unknown incomes as the income declared in the IT returns without giving source of income for donations below rupees 20,000. Overall, the combined income of national and regional political parties from unknown sources amount to almost 36%. That shows that a lot chunk of their income comes from unknown sources, and that is giving a fertile ground for the corruption. ADR has also scrutinized the IT returns of political parties and found out that between financial year 2004 to 2005 and 2020-2021, 2020 and 2021, the national parties have collected almost 15,000 crore from unknown sources. Moving forward, so what are the issues with election funding or electoral funding in India? Firstly, there is a lack of transparency deficient election system or electoral funding system, which originates from the undisclosed sources. Second, which creates fertile ground for corruption and regulatory capture. And this undisclosed donors, often comprising large corporations or corrupt local entities, exerts influence over political leaders, leading to policies favoring their business interest. Thirdly, institutional corruption. It is institutionalizing the corruption, right? Moving forward, absence of funding limits, removal of previous restrictions on corporate contributions to political parties has facilitated increased funding, enhancing corporate influence over political landscape. There's also unfair advantage because some parties are getting more money in comparison to other regional parties, so it is creating unfair advantages for them. Unequal access to financial resources results in electoral disputes. There's also violation of laws cited by or observed by various critics. Non-disclosure of funding sources violates various legal provisions and Election Commission of India's regulation. Despite Central Information Commission, that is CIC, rulings, political parties resist transparency, perpetuating issues like use of black money and bribery, as acknowledged by Supreme Court in PUCL versus Union of India case. So what is solution? Firstly, prohibition of pre-election government advertisement. Second, equalization of spending limits for parties as well as candidates. Currently, we have limit on the expenditure incurred by candidates, but not expenditure by the political party. So we have to set limits for them as well. There is also need for enhancement of transparency in party financing. We have to move beyond the electoral bonds. Next is expedited legal measures for violation, recommending the appointment of additional judges in high courts to expedite the resolution of election-related cases, serving as deterrent against overspending and other breaches. And lastly, exploration of state funding for election. We have to move toward state funding for political parties so that we can curb this type of corruption or role of money in the electoral system. Next article is what is artificial general intelligence. So it's different from artificial intelligence, the better version of artificial intelligence named as AGI or artificial general intelligence. But people are having some apprehensions with respect to AGI. What are those apprehensions? We'll be looking. Why this article is important? Because this article is discussing about artificial intelligence, which is a part of fourth industrial revolution and which is a part of a broader category of science and technology. If we map, we can map under GS paper 3, awareness in the fields of IT and computers. And this article is very much important for our prelims exam. Why? In 2020, UPSC asked directly from this topic, artificial intelligence. So you can expect in future as well. What is the context? OpenAI's CEO recently, Sam Altman, in an interview expressed his commitment to invest billions of dollars towards the development of AGI, that is artificial general intelligence. Despite his commitment, his endorsement to AGL, many in the global tech community are apprehensive about it. And this is a part of Industrial Revolution 4.0. What is Industrial Revolution? There are multiple phases or stages of Industrial Revolution. This Industrial Revolution started with mechanization of the labor, right? So it replaced manual labor by the machine labor, okay, and started with the textile manufacturing in the 18th century. Later on, this Industrial Revolution 2 came into picture in late 19th century, which was characterized by mass production assembly line and electricity as a source of power. Then after that, third Industrial Revolution in mid 20th century emerged, and which is characterized by automation, computers and electronics. Later on, recently, Industrial Revolution 4 that we witnessed in 21st century, and it is a more sophisticated version of computers and its technology or related technology. It is including cyber physical system, Internet of Things, that is IoT, and artificial intelligence and based technologies, right? And this AGI is a part of artificial intelligence or is a better version of artificial intelligence. So what is AGI? Let's look into the definition. This AGI is aiming to replicate human cognitive abilities like reasoning, common sense, and abstract thinking in machines or software. So in the narrow AI, what we are, or the traditional AI, what we are witnessing, that it has certain limitations. It has capability of mimicking people, or human intelligence, but it has certain limitation. And it was associated with, or narrow AI was associated with a particular task, right? But this AGI will not have a limit, okay? It encompasses a broad range of tasks that human can perform, making it more human-like compared to narrow AI. How it is different from narrow AI? Narrow AI, which was focusing on a specific task, for example, image recognition or playing games or cyber security, etc. While AGI aims for a more generalized intelligence and not confined to a single task or a set of tasks, right? While narrow AI has been significant advancements, AGI remains the ultimate goal of the AI development. If we see historical perspective, it all started with Alan Turing's 1950 experiment and paper, where he proposed the Turing test to assess machine intelligence. What was Turing test? It was like a curtain was there. Some people were observed, and behind the curtain there were two kinds of entities. One were machines and humans, and these people have to observe whether they have interacted with machines or human. And if these people felt that they interacted with human even after they interacted with machines, it solves the problem that human machines can mimic the humans, right? Despite being a distant dream at this time, Turing works sparkled discussion on the potential benefits and risks of AI or AGI. So what are the potential benefits and risks? Let's see. Firstly, benefits. It will be beneficial for education. For example, it will democratize education. It will increase the adaptive learning system, or it will ensure adaptive learning system. As far as healthcare is concerned, it will revolutionize diagnostic. The treatment planning will be enhanced, and there will be personalized medicine with the help of artificial intelligence. As far as finance and business is concerned, it will automate the processes. It will give real-time analytics and market predictions, and also it will enhance the decision making. What about the apprehensions? It has certain environmental concerns. How? Because this computational power which is being used for AGI development as well as deployment, it will increase the energy resources or energy usage, right? So it increase the energy consumption, and it will increase the concern as far as e-waste generation is concerned, okay? There will be some socio-economic impact as well. It will potentially create hurdles for job creation. Rather, it will destroy certain traditional jobs. It will increase economic disparities. It will create another axis of stratification, in which some people who can use or utilize the artificial intelligence will be at the advantageous position and other will not. It will increase, it will do some kind of power concentration. Only few people will be having power in their hand. It will increase the security risks. How? It will create new vulnerabilities, including cyber attack. It will outpace the regulatory efforts, and it will become a challenge for governance as well. There will be some loss of human skills because we will be increasing dependency on AGI, and there will be loss of some basic human capabilities. It's also unpredictable. So there will be some ability to outdo humans, and it will increase the challenges in understanding and predicting the actions specifically related with the AGIs. So moving forward, there are certain expert warnings and calls for regulation, Prominent AI pioneers like Joshua Bengio, Geoffrey Hinton, and Jan LeCun have cautioned against the catastrophic outcomes of AGI development. Many experts advocate stringent regulations to ensure that AGI development aligns with human values and safety standards. So, what is the conclusion? While AGI holds immense promises for various fields, its development raises legitimate concerns that warrant careful consideration and regulatory oversight to mitigate potential risks and ensure alignment with human values and safety. Next article is IT clause to ensure MSMEs are paid on time creates hurdle. This article is mentioning a clause or a provision in 2023-24 budget in which they mandated, or the government mandated, that the MSME bills are paid by business houses within 45 days against the prevailing business cycle of 90 to 120 days. So what was happening before that? The MSMEs who were giving goods or services to big corporates, and these corporates were paying the bills in 90 to 120 days business cycle, and this was the prevailing condition. Now government mandated these corporates to pay the bills within 45 days, and this is creating hurdles. Now these MSMEs in this fear, the corporates, because of these corporates or pressure by the corporates, these MSMEs are deregistering themselves, becoming informal and unorganized sector, and that is creating hurdles and problems in development of MSME sector. Why this article is important? Because this article is discussing about MSMEs and will go beyond the article and will do some analysis of the role of MSMEs in Indian economy. If we want to map, we can map under the prelims and GS1 current events of national and international importance, economic and social development. Previously, UPSC has asked question with respect to various sectors of economy, including MSME. So you can expect such type of question in future as well. What is the context? Context, we have seen that an income tax change in the budget 2023-2024, which was aimed to ensure timely payments to MSME, has led to the following unintended consequences. Firstly, large companies cancelling the orders with registered MSME, and now these MSMEs are shifting to unregistered ones, right? What is MSME? MSME are defined and classified on the basis of composite criteria: investment in plant and machinery, equipment, and annual turnover. So, micro enterprises are those enterprises where the investment in plant and machinery or equipment does not exceed 1 crore and turnover does not exceed 5 crore. As far as small companies are concerned, investment in plant and machinery or equipment not more than 10 crore and annual turnover not more than 50 crore. And medium enterprises are those enterprises in which investment is not more than 50 crore and annual turnover is not more than 250 crores. Let's see the role of MSME in our Indian economy. As far as GVA in all India GDP is concerned, it is almost 27 to 30%. As far as share of MSME manufacturing output in all India manufacturing output is concerned, it is almost 36 to 40%. And as far as share of export is concerned, it's almost 43 to 50%. As per Udyam registration portal, the total number of persons employed in the MSME in India is almost 123 million. Also, the government has taken a number of recent initiatives to support MSMEs in the country, including rupees 5 lakh crore emergency credit link guarantee scheme for businesses including MSME, rupees 50,000 crore equity infusion through MSME Self-Reliant India Fund, new revised criteria for classification of MSMEs, no global tenders for the procurement up to rupees 200 crore, launching of an online portal Champions in June 2020 to cover many aspects of e-governance, including grievance redressal and handholding of MSMEs, inclusion of retail and wholesale traders as MSMEs, which is effective from 2nd July 2021. Apart from these initiatives, several other initiatives such as Trade Platform, Udyam Portal, Mudra Scheme. So these were some of the initiatives that government has taken to empower MSME sector in India. Last article for today's discussion is Kerala obstructing Mullaperiyar dam work said by Tamil Nadu government to Supreme Court. So why this article is important? Because this article is discussing about Mullaperiyar dam, and we will be discussing beyond this article, like including some constitutional provisions with respect to interstate dispute. This article is majorly important for prelims point of view. Okay, let's understand the importance of this issue from the previous year question point of view. 2010 UPSC asked question about how the lakes or the dams are related with a particular river. So you can expect such type of question in future as well. What is the context? Context is Mullaperiyar Dam. This is situated in the state of Kerala but controlled by state of Tamil Nadu. And now Tamil Nadu in Supreme Court is saying that or accusing state of Kerala of obstructing maintenance work on the Mullaperiyar Dam, which is 125-year-old and located in Kerala but operated by Tamil Nadu. So what is the exact issue? Firstly, Kerala is accused of delaying routine annual maintenance work such as painting, patchworks, etc. Right? Secondly, there is a supervisory committee which is constituted under the Dam Safety Act, has reportedly failed to ensure that Kerala facilitates the necessary maintenance and strengthening work. And all these things were reported by Tamil Nadu, and Tamil Nadu government sought intervention to permit the continuation of strengthening work on the dam. Right? Moving forward, there are certain legal and environmental hurdles which were raised by Kerala government. Kerala withdrew previously granted permission and cited need of forest and wildlife clearance for strengthening works, which Tamil Nadu views as a deliberate obstruction. Kerala contends that the strengthening works on the Baby and Earthen Dam require forest and wildlife clearances. What are earthen dams? Earthen dams are nothing but the dams which were created with the help of natural elements, and the baby dams are the smaller dams built alongside a larger dam to manage excess water when the main dam's level exceeds 116 or 116 feet. Right? The supervisory committee reconstituted under the Dam Safety Act is criticized for failing to ensure cooperation from Kerala for necessary maintenance works. Moving forward, not only these legal and environmental concerns, even before that, in 2021, Kerala government proposed decommissioning of the deteriorating 126-year-old dam in Supreme Court, citing the need for the new dam in light of climate change impacts, erratic rainfall and flood risk. And this is not the only case where we witnessed a decommissioning of the dam. Previously, in the Victoria Dam in Australia was decommissioned. So it will not be the first time when humanity see a decommissioning of the dam. Right? Kerala calls for the decommissioning of the dam coincided with the red alert in Chennai due to torrential rainfall, and referenced the Uttarakhand flood in 2021, highlighting the broader impacts of the climate change on the infrastructure. So this is the basic issue or broader issue between the Kerala government and the Tamil Nadu government as far as Mullaperiyar Dam is concerned. Now we'll see the constitutional provisions. So far we have seen the dispute between Kerala government and the Tamil Nadu government as far as Mullaperiyar Dam is concerned. Now we'll see some of the constitutional provisions under which our constitution envisages any resolution for any conflict or grievances between the center or state or between the states. Okay. So if at all there is any dispute, that will be resolved by the Supreme Court only. That is in the Article 131, and it's the original jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. But Beyond this, Article 262 also says that Parliament may by law provide for the adjudication of any dispute or complaint with respect to use, distribution and control of waters of or on in any interstate river or river valley. So in case of interstate river water disputes, it will be resolved by the bodies which will be constituted by the Parliament. That is, for example, interstate river water dispute tribunals. What about Mullaperiyar Dam? It is located in the Kerala Idukki district, operated and maintained by Tamil Nadu for irrigation, drinking, water supply and hydropower generation. Historical context: it is situated in Kerala's Idukki district on the Periyar river, but it is owned and operated by the Tamil Nadu government according to 1886 agreement between the Maharaja of Travancore, which today is a part of Kerala, and the then Madras Presidency of British Raj. The Periyar, 244 km in length, and is the longest river of the Kerala and drains an area of almost 5,500 square kilometer. It rises at the forest land Shivagiri peak, 80 km south of Devi Kulam, at an elevation of 2438 meter above mid-sea level. So this is the Mullaperiyar Dam, which is at the Periyar lake or Periyar river, at the bank of Periyar river, and which is situated in Kerala state but operated by Tamil Nadu, right? So far we have discussed all the important articles. Let's do some practice question now. First question is, consider the following statements regarding electoral funding in India. The Representation of Peoples Act 1951 along with the Conduct of Election Rules 1961 regulates the electoral funding in India. That is correct. There is no limit on the amount of corporate contribution to the political parties as per the current legal framework. That is also correct. Electoral bonds have brought complete transparency to financing of political parties. That is incorrect statement. So, which of the statements given above is our correct? 1 and 2 only. B part will be the correct answer. Consider the following statements. The Mullaperiyar Dam is located in Tamil Nadu. No, it is situated in Kerala but maintained by Tamil Nadu. The dam is operated and maintained by Kerala. No, it's Tamil Nadu. So, both the statements are incorrect. The Periyar river on which Mullaperiyar Dam is built is the longest river in Kerala. That is the correct statement. So, answer will be 1 only. Consider the following statements. 5 lakh crore emergency credit line guarantee scheme is applicable for MSMEs only. No, one of the beneficiary is MSME. Champions portal does the grievance redressal and handholding of sports person. No, it's MSME. So both the statements are incorrect. Assertion reason question. MSMEs are defined and classified on the basis of composite criteria: investment in plant and machinery equipment and annual turnover. That is correct statement. Reasoning. Manufacturing enterprises and enterprises rendering services with investment in plant and machinery or equipment not more than 10 crore and annual turnover not more than 50 crore. That is correct statement but not the correct explanation. So B part will be the correct answer. Which of the following best defines the artificial general intelligence? AGI refers to only machines or software capable of performing specific tasks. No, it's not for specific task but rather general task. AGI encompasses human-like cognitive abilities, enabling it to perform any task a human can, including reasoning, abstract thinking and problem solving. That is the correct answer. So, B part will be the correct answer. Now, let's do the mains practice question. Question is, a pragmatic approach to reducing the rich-poor gap is by maximizing economic growth, minimizing unemployment, lowering the tax burden and providing safety net for the poor. Discuss in light of various approaches in reducing inequality and alleviating poverty in India. So, here we have to mention that there is a zero-sum approach, there is a variable-sum approach, and along with that, there are certain underlying factors which are causing inequality in India. So, we have to make a balance of these two approaches and we have to see for the underlying factors, and we have to resolve those factors. And what are those resolve factors? Minimizing unemployment, or because of this Western paradigm of development, we are witnessing jobless growth. So we have to remove this part. There is a tax burden on the common people or the people who have lower income. So we have to resolve this problem. So these are the underlying factors. So we have to make a balance of these two approaches, and then we have to see the underlying factors. So in introduction part, we have to introduce with the inequality with the help of data, then explain philosophical approach including zero sum and variable sum approach. In body, explain how zero sum approach and variable sum approach, or a mix of these two things, can reduce the this rich poor divide or gap in India. Then we have to see some underlying factors including unemployment, tax burden on poor, and safety net or lack of safety net. These are the some of the underlying factors, underlying problems which are creating the rich poor gap that we have to reduce, or that we have to take care of. Then in conclusion, while maximizing economic growth, minimizing unemployment, lowering tax burden, and providing a safety net are central to reducing inequality and alleviating poverty, there must be an integrated with broader socio-economic reforms. A holistic approach that considers the complex nature of poverty inequality in India is essential for effective and sustainable solution. Through which we are concluding our discussion. If you like our initiative, please like, share, and subscribe.